I had a bad feeling about my own house, so I pretended to go on vacation, but I never left the city. Instead, I rented a beat-up room across the street and watched my front door from behind a dirty curtain. While I was sitting there in the dark, my elderly neighbor came to find me and pressed something cold into my hand. Then she leaned close and whispered 4 words that I kept turning over in my head for the next 8 hours. At midnight, you'll see. When midnight came, I understood everything. My name is Gerald Whitfield. I'm 67 years old. I spent 40 years as a civil engineer. I built things meant to last. Bridges, load-bearing structures, foundations designed to hold weight that most people never think about. I retired 4 years ago. 3 years ago, I buried my wife Vivian, and until about a week before all this happened, I genuinely thought grief was making me lose my mind. I was wrong. It wasn't grief. It started the way these things always start. Small, easy to explain away, keys showing up in the wrong drawer, my reading glasses in the refrigerator. One morning, I found my wallet sitting in the bathroom cabinet next to my toothbrush. I stood there holding it and thought, did I do that? I couldn't say for certain that I hadn't. That's the part that scared me most. My daughter Claudette started watching me differently. Not the way a daughter watches a father she's worried about. The way someone watches a situation they're managing. She'd hand me my coffee in the morning and then stay in the kitchen a little too long, leaning against the counter, watching me drink it. Her husband Terrence had a friend, a doctor named Clifton Aldridge, a family physician who ran a private practice in the suburbs. Terrence played golf with him. Aldridge came to the house twice over the course of 3 weeks. Both times he spent maybe 20 minutes with me, asked me to remember 3 words and draw a clock face, and then spoke to Claudette in the hallway while I sat in the living room listening to the low murmur of their voices. He used phrases like cognitive indicators and age-related decline. He never ordered a single blood test. After his second visit, Claudette sat down across from me at the kitchen table and started talking about a place in Florida, a retirement community. Good weather, she said. Structured environment. Professional staff who understand what older adults need. I asked her what older adults need. She said, support, Dad. People who can actually be there for you. The implication being that she couldn't, that I was too much. The following Tuesday, she put a folder on the table in front of me. Inside was a plane ticket. Tampa, departing Thursday morning one way. I looked at it for a long time without saying anything. Then I looked at her. She was looking at her coffee. It's for your own good, she said. I'd heard that before. Those words have been used to justify a lot of things that weren't good for anyone except the person saying them. I told her I'd think about it. She nodded and said the car would come at 7 in the morning. That night, I went to bed and lay there staring at the ceiling for 2 hours. Something was wrong and I knew it, but I couldn't get my hands around it. I kept coming back to one thing. When I'd walked to the hallway closet to get a book after dinner, I saw my suitcase by the door, already packed, zipped up, ready to go. I hadn't packed it. I hadn't touched it. I hadn't agreed to anything yet. That was the moment the fog cleared. Not because I suddenly felt sharp or confident, because I got angry. And anger, after weeks of feeling like I was dissolving, felt like solid ground. I went to my desk. I pulled out a notepad and I started writing down everything I could remember from the past 6 weeks. Every missing item, every strange moment, every conversation with Aldridge, every time Claudette had been in a room with my coffee before she handed it to me. By the time I was done, it was almost 2 in the morning and I had 2 full pages of notes. Then I opened my laptop. I used an old email account I'd set up years ago for a contracting side project, one Claudette had never seen. I found a rental listing on Alderton Street, 2 blocks over, in a building where the back windows faced directly toward the front of my house. $65 a night. I booked it for 3 days. Thursday morning, I played my part. Let Claudette help me with my coat. Let Terrence load the suitcase. Stood on the porch and let them both hug me goodbye. Terrence shook my hand and said, "Don't worry about the house. We'll take care of everything." I got in the car. We turned the corner. I leaned forward and held up 3 folded bills. "Change of plans," I said. "Alderton Street." The driver looked at me in the mirror. I looked back. He took the money and turned the wheel. The room on Alderton Street was on the 3rd floor of a building that had seen better decades. The carpet was stained. The window latch was broken. And the whole place smelled like someone had tried to cover up cigarettes with pine cleaner and given up halfway through. But when I pulled back the curtain, I had a direct line of sight to my front door, my porch, both living room windows, and the light above the garage. I set my old surveyor's binoculars on the windowsill and sat down in the one chair the room had. Then I waited. For the first few hours, nothing happened. The house sat quiet. Terrence's car was in the driveway. The living room light was on normal enough. I ate a sandwich I'd picked up on the way over and watched a couple of pigeons argue on my roof. Around 4 in the afternoon, I heard a knock at the door. I opened it and found Lorraine Okafor standing in the hallway with a paper bag in one hand and a folded piece of paper in the other. Lorraine was 74, had lived 2 houses down from me for over 20 years, and was the kind of woman who noticed everything and said only what needed to be said. She looked at me standing in the doorway of a rundown rental room across the street from my own house and didn't ask a single question about it. She just held out the folded paper. "I pulled this from your recycling bin 2 days ago," she said. Claudette put it in herself, buried it under newspapers. I almost didn't look, but something told me to. It was a bank statement. My account, 3 transactions over 72 hours totaling $4,200. Each one had an authorization slip attached with a signature on the line. The signature looked like mine, the loop of the G, the angle of the W, but I've signed my name the same way for 40 years. Every engineer develops precision in his hands. The line through the capital G crosses at a specific angle. This one was off, not by much, but enough. Someone had practiced it, gotten close, but not close enough. I stood there reading it twice, and Lorraine watched my face. Then she said, "There's more. 2 nights ago, after you were supposed to be on that plane, I saw a truck in the alley behind your house. 2 men. They came out the back gate carrying boxes and a rolled rug. Vivian's Persian rug, Gerald. I've seen that rug on your back porch every summer for 15 years. Vivian had bought that rug at an estate sale in 1998. She'd driven 4 hours round trip to get it. She spent 3 weeks cleaning it by hand. I sat down on the edge of the bed and looked at the statement again. Lorraine sat down in the chair by the window. She didn't say anything for a minute. Then she said, "At midnight, Gerald, sit at that window. Don't go to sleep." She left the paper bag on the small table by the door. Inside was a thermos of coffee and 2 slices of cornbread wrapped in foil. That was Lorraine. She handed you the hardest news you'd ever heard and then made sure you had something to eat. I drank the coffee and watched the house until the sun went down. At 9, the lights in the living room shifted. Someone was moving around. At 10, Terrence's car backed out of the driveway and left. Claudette's car stayed. At midnight, I raised the binoculars. Claudette was in the living room on her phone, pacing. She was dressed, not in pajamas, not winding down for the night. She was alert and moving with purpose. She walked to the fireplace cabinet, the one where Vivian kept her ceramic pieces and the framed photographs, and she opened it. She stood there looking at things for a moment, then she reached in and took out the rosewood box. Vivian's mother had given her that box. It held a small pearl brooch, 2 rings, and a bracelet with a gold clasp. Nothing worth a fortune on paper, worth everything to our family. Claudette looked at it, turned it over once, and put it in her bag. Then she picked up her phone again and started talking. I couldn't hear the words, but I could read the body language. She was confirming something, checking something off a list. I put the binoculars down. I wasn't angry right then. I know that sounds strange. What I felt was more like the moment on a job site when you've been watching a structure and you finally see the crack you knew was coming. There's almost a kind of calm to it, because once you see the problem clearly, you know what to do. I picked up my phone and found the number for Sandra Vance. She'd been Vivian's estate lawyer for 12 years. Sharp, methodical, not someone who panicked. It was past 1 in the morning. She answered on the second ring. I told her I needed to come in. "Right now," she said. "I'll put the coffee on." I took a cab downtown. The city was quiet at that hour, just traffic lights cycling through their colors for empty intersections. I sat in the back and thought about Claudette standing at that cabinet moving through my house like she already owned it. I thought about the suitcase already packed before I agreed to anything. I thought about all the mornings she handed me my coffee and then stood there watching me drink it. By the time we pulled up to Sandra's building, I wasn't second-guessing myself anymore. Sandra Vance's office was on the 38th floor of a glass building downtown. At 2 in the morning, the lobby was empty, except for a security guard who barely looked up. I rode the elevator alone and watched my reflection in the chrome doors. I looked tired, older than I felt, but my eyes were clear. Sandra met me at the glass doors of her firm. She was already in work clothes, a jacket over a collared shirt, reading glasses pushed up on her head. She'd pulled files before I arrived. That was Sandra. You called her at 1 a.m. with a problem, and by the time you walked in, she'd already done half the work. She poured me a coffee and turned her monitor around so I could see it. "I pulled your county records after you called," she said, "and I found something beyond the bank withdrawals." On the screen was a court filing, an emergency petition for temporary guardianship, submitted 2 days earlier. The grounds listed were that I was a danger to myself, unable to manage my own finances, and in need of immediate supervised placement. The supporting affidavit was signed by Dr. Clifton Aldridge. Attached to it was a second document, a credit application submitted by Terrence Marsh to a private lender. The collateral listed was my retirement account and the house. The amount requested was $280,000. I sat there looking at the number for a long moment. $280,000 was 40 years of careful decisions. Every year, I maxed my contributions. Every bonus I left untouched. Every time Vivian and I talked about taking a big trip and then decided to wait, that account was the result of 40 years of waiting. And Terrence had already found a lender willing to move on it, pending one signature, mine or something that looked enough like mine to pass. Sandra leaned back in her chair. The guardianship petition is the key. Once a judge approves temporary guardianship, Claudette gets legal authority to manage your affairs. At that point, the signature on the credit application doesn't even need to be yours. She signs it herself as your guardian. How close is the petition to being approved? There's a hearing scheduled for Monday morning. That's 4 days from now. Aldridge's affidavit is the only medical evidence on file. If we don't move before then, we're fighting it in court. That takes time. And while we're fighting, the temporary order may already be in effect. I asked her what we could do before Monday. She said we move the assets tonight. By 3:17 in the morning, the house and the retirement account had been transferred into the Vivian Whitfield Memorial Trust. Sandra handled the filing electronically. We watched the confirmation come through on her screen. The timestamp locked at 3:17 a.m. The trust was structured so that Claudette had no authority over it, no legal standing to touch it, and no path to it through any guardianship order. Even if the Monday hearing went badly, the assets were already unreachable. I signed every document myself. Sandra's paralegal notarized them on the spot. My signature was clean. 40 years of the same hand. Sandra walked me to the elevator. She said, "Go back. Act normal. Don't let them know anything has changed." I told her I had one more thing I needed to do first. I stopped at a hardware store that opened early and bought 2 small wireless cameras, nothing fancy. The kind a homeowner uses to check on deliveries. I had to contact Lorraine's nephew, a retired security technician named Darnell, who'd helped me wire the garage cameras years back. I texted him from the cab. He met me on the corner near my house at 6 in the morning, took the cameras, and told me he'd have them running within the hour. By the time Claudette came downstairs for breakfast, there was a camera behind the smoke detector in the kitchen and another in the hallway outside the master bedroom. The feeds went to my phone and to a secure cloud account Sandra had set up. I walked back through my front door at 7:30. Claudette was at the island with her coffee. She looked up and for just a second her face didn't know what to do, then she reset it into something that looked like concern. "Dad, you're back. We thought the car was coming at 7. I needed some air first," I said. I walked around the block. She nodded slowly, watching me. I sat down at the kitchen table and let her pour me a cup of coffee. She set it in front of me and then leaned against the counter with her own mug, looking at her phone. Casual, relaxed. I wrapped both hands around the mug and looked out the window at the backyard. I did not drink the coffee. I'd been thinking about those mornings. The way she always handed it to me directly, the way she stayed in the room, the way I'd been feeling for 6 weeks. Foggy, slow, unsure of things I'd known for decades. I wasn't ready to say it out loud yet, but I'd stopped at a clinic the day before I came back and left a blood sample with a doctor I found myself, a toxicologist named Wendell Pryor who had no connection to Terrence, to Claudette, or to anyone in their circle. I was waiting on those results. That morning I sat at my own kitchen table, drank nothing, and watched my daughter read her phone. She seemed comfortable, confident, like everything was still going according to plan. That was fine. Let her think that a little longer. The results from Wendell Pryor came back on a Friday afternoon. He called me while I was sitting in the backyard pretending to read a newspaper. He said, "Gerald, I need you to listen carefully. Your blood work shows elevated levels of a common sedative compound. It's the kind of thing that builds up with repeated low-dose exposure over several weeks. It wouldn't show up on a standard checkup panel. You'd have to know to look for it." I asked him what the effects would be at that dosage. He said, "Confusion, short-term memory gaps, difficulty concentrating, hand tremors in some cases. At low levels, it wouldn't incapacitate you. It would just make you seem like a man whose mind was starting to slip." I thanked him and asked him to write everything up and hold it for now. He pushed back on that. He said I should go to the police immediately. I told him I understood his concern and that I needed 48 more hours. He wasn't happy about it, but he agreed. I put my phone in my pocket and sat there for a while looking at Vivian's garden. She'd planted those hydrangeas along the back fence 15 years ago. They still came back every year without anyone doing much of anything. Some things hold on whether you tend to them or not. That evening, I stopped drinking anything Claudette prepared. I told her my stomach had been off and I was sticking to water I poured myself. She said that was fine and watched me with that same steady, patient look she'd been wearing all week. The next day, the kitchen camera caught what I needed. It was just after 11 at night. I was in my bedroom with the door closed and my phone propped on the nightstand showing the camera feed. Claudette came into the kitchen in her robe, picked up her phone, and made a call. I turned up the volume. She said, "Aldridge confirmed the evaluation goes in Monday morning once. The judge signs the temporary order we move on the account the same day. Terrence already has the lender standing by. A pause. Then I know it feels slow. But we do this right or we don't do it at all. He's not going to be a problem much longer. She hung up, opened the refrigerator, stood there for a moment looking at nothing in particular. Then she closed it and went back upstairs. I set the phone down on the nightstand and looked at the ceiling. I want to be honest about that moment. I'd been holding myself together for days on logic and forward motion. But lying there in the dark in the house I'd owned for 35 years, listening to my daughter describe me as a problem to be managed on a timeline, something in me went very quiet. Not sad exactly. More like the feeling after something breaks and the sound has already faded and you're just standing there in the silence of it. I gave myself about 10 minutes. Then I picked up the phone and texted Sandra. She called back in 2 minutes. I told her about the toxicology results and played her the audio clip from the kitchen. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "That's enough. We're ready. We set it for Monday." The same day as the guardianship hearing, Sandra would file an emergency motion to dismiss the petition first thing in the morning, citing the toxicology report and the forged bank authorizations. Simultaneously, Roosevelt Briggs, a detective with the County Financial Crimes Unit who'd known me for over 20 years, would be positioned at the bank when Claudette and Terrence arrived to finalize the credit application. The account they were planning to leverage no longer existed in my name. It was sitting inside the Vivian Whitfield Memorial Trust and had been since 3:17 a.m. 11 days earlier. The lender would run a title check as standard procedure. The moment they did, the whole thing would collapse, but I wanted to be there when it happened. Sunday night, I ironed a shirt and laid out a jacket. I shined my shoes for the first time in months. I set my alarm for 6 a.m. Monday morning, Claudette knocked on my bedroom door at 7:30. She said there was some paperwork at the bank she needed me to sign. Routine stuff. She said it wouldn't take long. I told her to give me a few minutes to get ready. I stood at the bathroom mirror and looked at myself. 6 weeks of low-dose sedatives had put some gray in my face that wasn't there before. My hands had been steadier the last few days now that I wasn't drinking whatever she put in front of me. I straightened my collar. I thought about Vivian. Vivian used to say that the people who underestimate you are doing you a favor. They show you exactly what they think you're worth, and then they're never ready when you show them what you actually are. I walked out of the bathroom, picked up my jacket, and went downstairs. Claudette was waiting in the kitchen. She looked me over when I came in, checked that I seemed foggy enough, slow enough, manageable enough. She must have decided I was. She picked up her keys. "Ready?" she said. "Let's go," I said. The bank was a regional branch on Stafford Avenue, the kind of place with low ceilings and carpet that hadn't been replaced since 2005. Claudette held the door for me. I walked in slowly, let her guide me toward the seating area near the loan officer's desk. I sat down and folded my hands in my lap and looked around like a man taking in a room he wasn't quite sure about. The loan officer, a younger man named Patterson, came over with a folder and a professional smile. He shook Claudette's hand, then mine. He said everything was nearly in order, just a few signatures, and they could get the disbursement process started. Claudette sat close to me. She had a pen ready before Patterson even opened the folder. Patterson pulled up the account information on his screen. He typed something, waited, typed again. The smile stayed on his face, but something behind his eyes shifted. He typed a third time. "Ims Whitfield Marsh," he said. "I'm showing an issue with the collateral account." "Can you give me just one moment?" Claudette's posture changed. "Not much. Just a degree or two. What kind of issue? I need to verify something in our system. It'll just take a minute." He picked up his desk phone and turned slightly away. I watched Claudette watching him. Her jaw tightened. She looked at me. I was looking at the carpet. Patterson finished his call. He set the phone down and turned back to us. The professional smile was gone, replaced by something more careful. "I'm sorry, but we're unable to proceed with this application. The retirement account listed as primary collateral was transferred into an irrevocable trust 11 days ago. We don't have any record of this account being under the applicant's direct ownership. The trust is the legal holder," Claudette said. "That's not possible. I can show you the county records if you'd like. The transfer is time-stamped and filed. He didn't do that," she said. Her voice had gone flat. He couldn't have. He didn't even know to do that. That was the moment I stopped looking at the carpet. I sat up straight. I turned and looked at her directly, not with anger. Just looked at her, clearly the way you look at something you finally decided to stop pretending isn't there. Sandra Vance was standing near the entrance. I hadn't looked at her when we walked in, but she'd been there. Roosevelt Briggs was standing beside her in a jacket and tie, not a uniform. He had a folder under his arm. Claudette saw them. She looked back at me. I said, "I wasn't losing my mind, Claudette. I was waiting for you to show me everything." She didn't say anything dramatic. There was no shouting, no scene. She just sat very still and looked at the table between us. Her hands were in her lap and she looked suddenly smaller than I'd ever seen her. Not the calculated woman who'd spent weeks managing my exit from my own life. Just someone who had made a long series of choices and had finally run out of road. Roosevelt and Sandra came over. What followed was quiet and procedural. Claudette didn't resist. Terrence had already been contacted that morning and had agreed to cooperate before she even woke up. Aldridge surrendered his files to the medical board the same afternoon. I stayed in my seat while it was handled. Patterson brought me a cup of water without being asked. I thanked him and drank it. Outside the bank, the sky was overcast, but the air was cool and clean. Sandra stood with me for a few minutes on the sidewalk. She said the criminal charges would take time to process, but the civil protections were already in place. The trust was solid. The house was safe. I thanked her. She nodded and went to get her car. I stood there alone for a while. No particular reason. Just didn't feel like rushing. The trial took 4 months. Claudette was convicted on elder financial abuse, forgery, and conspiracy. The judge sentenced her to 7 years. Terrence received probation in exchange for his cooperation. Aldridge lost his medical license pending a full ethics review. At sentencing, Claudette looked at me from across the courtroom. I didn't look away and I didn't give her anything to read. I just let her look. Lily came to live with me 6 weeks later. She was 9 years old and she chose the room that used to be Vivian's sewing room. First morning she was there, she found the rosewood box, which investigators had recovered and returned with the other items. She held it up and asked me what was inside. I told her it belonged to her grandmother. Things that mattered to someone who loved this family before any of us knew how to say that properly. She set it on the bookshelf and went down to eat breakfast. I stood there looking at it for a minute, then I went downstairs and made us both eggs. The house is still standing, so am I. If you've spent your life building something, working for it year after year, putting it away carefully so it would still be there when you needed it, pay attention to who has access to it. Put the right documents in place. Talk to a lawyer before someone else does it for you. The people who want what you have will move quietly and they will move early. Don't wait until the suitcase is already packed. If this story meant something to you, hit like and subscribe and tell me in the comments. Would you have gotten on that plane or would you have stayed to find out the truth?